Nice of you to join me. Hope you've had a nice weekend. This is the second in our kind of lunch and learn series. We did a trial one earlier in the year just to see if the format worked, and people seem to like the idea of lunchtime, which is a good thing. So I'm going to try and respect your lunchtime and not rattle on too long. What I'm going to really focus on today is, in fact, each of these lunch and learns are going to be on a
Mark
different
Jose coming
aspect.
in.
Have we got some more coming in? If people could mute themselves, that'd be really useful, please. Um, so yeah, we're going to try and tackle a different marketing topic each week. And this week we are looking at websites. Now I'm conscious that some of you are employed, so you don't have much control over your website. Some of you are self-employed, some of you are business owners. But I've tried to make sure there's something in here absolutely for everybody. So let me just share a screen for you. Okay, we're good. So first of all, quick introduction to those of you we've not met before. I'm Phil. I'm the founder of LifeTalk. Been working with advisors for rather a long time. 1978 was when I got started. Those of you that found this through LifeTalk, I'm the founder of LifeTalk, which has been going for about 18 years now. A little bit longer actually, but it is the world's longest running online community for financial advisors. One or two of you have also joined our advisor growth community. Everybody is welcome to join that, and I'll make sure that you'll get a link afterwards, and you get a free trial for a week. I've presented to over 1 million financial services professionals around the world, almost exclusively around marketing and business development. So, one of the most common questions that I get in Life Talk from financial advisors over all those years is almost always around lead generation. And the question it asks the same thing in a variety of different formats, often starts with anybody using unbiased or vouch for, and new advisors asking if networking works, what people think about LinkedIn, and professional connections. Lots of questions based around lead generation and how other people go about doing it. Now, there is no right or wrong route to doing it. That said, if you have a clear idea of who your ideal client is, then your marketing becomes very, very much easier. And it's really not something that you need to be worrying about. But what's really interesting is, although most financial advisors tell me that the majority of their new inquiries comes from referrals from existing clients, that's all good. But this question keeps coming up, which suggests to me that yes, we're receiving referrals and introductions from existing clients, but maybe we'd like a few more. Now, there are still a lot of people who would have you believe that this is what you should be doing to attract clients. I wonder if anybody on this call kind of recognizes this. Since the internet appeared, we've been sort of not conned, but we've been told that what you really need to be doing is posting content, whatever that is, everywhere, all of the time, and including pictures of you having your dinner, your feet in a swimming pool on holiday. This is what we are told to do. And I would argue that this is actually absolutely nonsense. If we are out there putting content out there, yes, some of it will get seen, but in an ideal world, what we really need to be doing is finding out who is our ideal dream client and where do they hang out, and then go where they hang out. So, for example, if you want to target dentists, dentists go to trade shows, dentists go to conferences. I would argue that you go to those same trade shows as well. Dentists listen to certain
Mm.
podcasts. Try and get yourself invited to be a guest presenter on a podcast. So ideally, know who your ideal client is that you actually want to work with, and then go there. But for most advisors, their main focus tends to be on their website, and that's what we're going to look at today. Some really interesting observations I have about websites. I've worked with a lot of advisors and we've looked at a lot of websites and we've come up with quite a bit of data. Now, one of the first things I need to ask you, and you don't need to answer this straight out, but is if I was to ask you, how many of you right now know how many people visited your website last week or even last month? If you do know those numbers, you are very, very much in the minority. The overwhelming majority of financial advisors don't really know how effective their main marketing asset actually is. And as I said, if you're an employed advisor and someone else does the website, then clearly you're not going to know. But it is important to have a sense, if you can get a sense of that, is your website actually working? So what I'm going to suggest to you today, by the end of this particular call, is that you remove a couple of specific items from your website and you add six, or it could just be one. And although that sounds a bit odd, you will see where I'm going with that. So we want to actually take a couple of things off your website. So the research that I've done into financial advisors' websites shows me that out of about 180 websites that I've looked at the stats, the average number of visitors to your website each month is 197. That's the average. You might be getting a lot more, you might be getting a lot less, but the average is 197. Of those 197, the average bounce rate, it's known as, and the bounce rate is the percentage of visitors who leave your website pretty well immediately. They certainly don't look at any other page than the page they landed on. So the average bounce rate is 54%. So on average, you're getting 197 visiting your site, 54%, 54 of them are bouncing straight off. And that 34 is the number of clickable links that a typical financial advice website has got on the homepage. And when you think about that, sounds like an awful lot. Well, it is an awful lot. And that basically means that your website visitors are being distracted an awful lot. And it's quite easy to count them up. Again, you might have more, you might have fewer than that. But is anything on the homepage that someone could click? So depending on how your website is laid out, whether you have drop-down menus or you have a menu down the side or along the bottom, the average number of links is 34. And all that serves to do is confuse people. So if we were going to take one thing off, I would do a little audit of your website and say, and actually look at your website stats, which will tell you which links are actually being clicked. And if there are links that are not being clicked on your website, then to be quite honest, I would remove them. They don't need to be there. All they're doing is confusing people and encouraging them to go somewhere else. Now, the difference between 197 and 54 is 143. So 197 people arrive, 54 leave immediately, leaving 143. Now, that is potentially 143 people who could potentially want to talk to you. But even if we said just half of those people might want to talk to you, or half of them really don't want to be on your website, that, maybe they're a recruiter or so, there was something, but let's really chop that number down to, let's say, 70. That leaves 70 people who potentially could be an inquiry for you. I hope I haven't made too much of a mouthful of that, but just sum that up. Average number of visitors each month, 197. Number of people who bounce straight off, 54. 34 clickable links, which just creates confusion. The difference between 197 and 54 is 143. And even if just half of those people might be a potential prospect, that's a lot of people. Even if you were just left with, say, 10 people who could potentially want to talk to you, it's important that we know that number. But that's 10 people who, I'll lay any money, are not actually making contact with you. The people who are making contact with you are probably the people who have been referred to you. Even though those people have been referred to you, have a choice, they could go onto Google and they can look for other financial advisors. Chances are they're the ones that will come and see you. So we've got this marketing asset. It's called our website, but a huge number of visitors to it are just not doing anything at all. And there are a variety of reasons for that. A lot of financial advisors' websites are a bit like this. They tell us the bleeding obvious. They tell us things we can figure out for ourselves. They don't really add any serious value. Today's visitor to a financial advisor's website is a lot more clued up than they were, just a few years ago. People do their own research. They're using ChatGPT. They're listening to podcasts. They're watching videos about personal finance on YouTube. And websites that don't really help or add any value are really not helping to create those conversions that we're looking at. And the sort of wording that we have on our websites is also a bit vague as well. We've got a great reputation. Well, that's the ticket to the game. We're highly qualified. If you aren't, I've got, we've got concerns about that. We're committed to quality, value, and personal service. Again, that shouldn't need to be stated in this day and age. Those are just the tickets to the game. So we need to be thinking about this, and it's also one or two of you may be beginning to attract new clients from people who have found you in Chat GPT search results. I've certainly met a lot of advisors now who have said to me proudly, "Oh, I just picked up my first client from somebody who found us in a Chat GPT search result." These sort of phrases, "we have a reputation for excellent client care, we are highly qualified," are not helping you to be found in ChatGPT search results. We'll go into that in more detail another time, but I hope you're getting what I'm saying here. Something else about financial advisor websites, they are jammed packed with cliched imagery. If I had a quid for every compass that I've seen on a financial advisor's website, I wouldn't need to be doing this today. And I get why our website designers are doing this sort of stuff. Happy couples sitting on park benches, flying kites with their grandchildren, walking on sunlit beaches. It's all very nice, but it is not very reflective of today's society, particularly people who might work with a financial planner. What I would be thinking a bit more about in this day and age is really get rid of, this is another thing you can get rid of this sort of cliched imagery that we're seeing, and try and show images that are more reflective of people today in this sort of age group. These are rather badly done AI images, but I hope you get what I'm saying here. A lot of older people today are living the time of their lives. You know, they're traveling a lot, they're walking a lot, they're going to rock concerts. Um, you know, I went to see Judas Priest at Wembley earlier this year, and my wife commented on the photos that I took afterwards. She said there seemed to be a lot of very elderly people wearing black, and I kind of get it as well. The lady top right in my yoga class, there's a lady called Jean. She is eight. She doesn't mind me saying she is 88 years old, and she is tougher and stronger than everybody else in the room. So just something to think about is look at the imagery that's on your website, and is it actually reflecting today's society? We all know people are living longer, so maybe we should be fine tuning our website a bit and get rid of pictures of compasses and old folks sitting on park benches, and replace it with something a little bit more vibrant. I mentioned right at the beginning the importance of being really clear what sort of clients you want to work with. And here's a classic example of a business that was transformed when the advisor really got focused on who he actually wants to work with. So Ryan Townsley, Town Capital over in the United States, set himself up as a financial planner. He used to work in the nuclear power industry, got a bit bored with that and thought, no, I'm going to look after people and become a financial planner. And what you're looking at there is the first version of his website homepage. And you know, it ticks those cliche boxes, doesn't it? People sailing, people traveling, and he struggled for quite a while until he got an inquiry from somebody he used to work with, somebody he used to work with in one of the nuclear power stations that he worked with. And they got on like a house on fire. They got quite a lot to talk about. They had a lot in common. And then that client went and told somebody else who worked at the nuclear power station, and then somebody else who worked at the nuclear power station. And Ryan began to think, hold on, I've got a bit of a niche here. Maybe if I got really focused on people who work in the nuclear industry, that might work out better for me. So this is what he did. He changed his website to what you can see in front of you, and branded himself as the only financial planning firm in the world created exclusively for nuclear power plant professionals. Do you think that worked? It worked an absolute treat. How many else of you have got pictures of nuclear power stations on your websites? If you focus on dentists, have you got pictures of dentists on your website? You get where I'm going with this. And then he began to realize that he could build his entire branding around just focusing on nuclear power. Now, when he worked in a new nuclear power plant, they had all over every wall of every room nuclear power plant emergency operating procedures. Rather attractive flowchart, I think you'll agree it is. I don't understand a word of it, but his clients do. In fact, they understand it so much that he then decided to create his own financial operating procedures based on the same look and feel as the actual emergency operating procedures in a power plant. Do you think his clients loved it? Of course they did. I rebranded them, and instead of emergency operating procedures, I call them financial operating procedures. Clients love it, they chuckle at it, but they also remember it. So that's what I mean by having real focus on who you actually want to work with and trying to make your website and some of your intellectual property that you have around it more reflective of those actual people. So I really do think we need to start thinking about whether we want this sort of stuff on our website. And don't get me started on this sort of stuff as well. What is it about green shoots in hands that website designers think is a good idea? It is utter nonsense. It really is not helping us. It is not attracting our ideal clients, and it is certainly not converting our website visitors into people we actually want to talk to. So let's try and get rid of this. Now, one of the first things I think we need to think about adding to our website is a good old-fashioned lead magnet. I know lead magnet sounds a bit salesy, but that's exactly what it is. It gives people something to do when they arrive on your website. It gives them a little bit of value. It gives them a taster of your expertise. And, here's just a selection of lead magnets that you could potentially put onto your website. You could create one of these in an hour, probably less if you use AI to help you. But simple things like this. If you want to be fairly generalist, then yeah, 10 costly retirement planning mistakes to avoid. How long was that going to take you to write? If we were doing this in a live workshop right now, I'd get you to do this right now because you can do it and you'd have created an asset that you can put on your website. And, these PDF downloads, lead magnets, they are a fair exchange of value. Client gets something to download, financial advisor gets a name and an email address. That's a fair exchange of value, and then you decide to follow up that email address any way that you see fit. Even better, if you've got a bit of a niche, so 21 tips for dentists who want to retire early. Now, if I'm a dentist and I've done some searching, whether it's on Google or ChatGPT, and I find your website and I arrive on your website and it's got pictures of other dentists on it, and there's a free download, 21 tips for dentists who want to retire early, there's no way that I'm not going to download that. Absolutely no way. So already I'm in your inbox because I've downloaded my guide. Now, these are just a few downloads that you could do. They don't have to be particularly long. Even if you could do that on one side of A4, happy days. But you can see, depending on who you work with or who your ideal client is, any financial advisor can create one of these. And you're not giving financial advice in this. This is just educational content. It's not a financial promotion. It's just educational value. It's the sort of thing that if you were in a pub and you got talking to somebody you've never met before, and it turns out that they're a dentist and you're a financial advisor, you're not going to give them financial advice there and then. You're just going to talk in a quite generic way, and the sort of thing that could go into an e-guide like this. And just by having one of these on your website will start to attract more people to want to talk to you. So there's something else that you might want. This is really old school, this stuff. A lot of financial advisors in the UK have resisted doing lead magnets like this. They have fear about compliance. Really, it's not an issue at all, or they feel it's a little bit salesy. This stuff just works. But there are other things that work better, which we're going to come on to. One of those is video testimonials. I would actually say if there's one thing that you do, if you do one thing as a result of this call today, it's get some video testimonials and put them up front and center on your website. When people arrive on your website and they see real people like them sitting on their sofa saying, when I met Jones and Co., it was like a weight off our mind. What these people will do, and they say when you get video testimonials, is real human things. What they don't say is, since working with Jones and Co., our net worth has trebled over the last year. They don't say things like that. They talk about human things. weights off their mind, couldn't wait to tell a friend about you. Um, Now, not every single one of your clients is going to want to do this, but at least ask them and say, "Look, it really does help us. Would you be interested in doing this? You can film it yourself. Your mobile phone is good enough quality, but it is worth just spending a little bit of money. Um, Maybe get someone from a local college who's doing a videography course, and maybe they can do it for you, or spend some money and have it done properly. These videos don't need to be very long. Some of you may know Brian Hill. He was a financial planner over in Wiltshire, and he used to have three video testimonials on his homepage, and they were kind of short versions, like 20-second versions. But he had a separate page on his website called Client Stories, where there were slightly longer versions of the same things. Video testimonials are so powerful, and they will differentiate you like you wouldn't believe, because the overwhelming majority of financial advisors don't have video testimonials on their website. This to me is an absolute must do if you're a financial advisor, and I guarantee you will convert more people into conversations with you. Okay, something else which I'm increasingly using, and again, this is so powerful. Now that we've got the likes of ChatGPT, imagine if you could have a version of ChatGPT that was trained on you, your knowledge, your expertise, your FAQs, anything that someone visiting your website might want to talk about. So some people say, well, this is a chatbot, isn't it? Well, we all know what chatbots are like. If you've ever tried to get in touch with your bank or your mobile phone company and use their chatbots, they are just hopeless. What you've got here is an actual conversational AI that on the outside looks like a bit like a chatbot, but this thing responds and talks to people in your tone, your style, the way you do things. So, for example, if you run a very high-end family office with ultra high net worth individuals, people would expect it to talk to you with a certain tone and a certain style. It will do that. If you are, as a business, are a bit more laid back, much more friendly, like a bit of a laugh, then your AI will communicate with people in that tone and style. So what you're doing is giving people something to do. All the evidence shows that when you give people something to do on your website, that is what converts people. I remember the very, very first financial advisor websites. Um, and I used to work for Permanent Insurance. Some of you might remember Permanent Insurance. They're a really good protection company. And the very, very first IFA websites were starting to appear. They looked absolutely awful. Like those of you that are old enough will remember the very early financial advisor websites were absolutely terrible. But the early adopters very quickly realized that if you put something on your website that gave people something to do, they stuck around and they then got in contact. And there was a thriving market in what was known as plugins, where you could plug something into a financial advisor's website. And typically it would be like a news ticker. You could get the news, you could get horse racing results, you could get the weather, you could get the stock market prices, anything that would get people to stick around. And what we were trying to do was make your website sticky, keep people on the website for as long as you possibly could. And if that meant chucking anything onto it, that would work. But it worked. Now we discovered at Permanent that we found a way where we could plug our quotes engine into financial advisors' websites. So all our broker reps were going out to see financial advisors that have got websites and say, look, here's something else for your website. You can get a quote from Permanent for PHI, term assurance, critical illness, all that kind of stuff. And people can visit your website and they can get a quote. But a lot of financial advisors, the way they reacted was, oh no, we don't want that because it only gives just your quotes. If there was a tool that gave everybody's quotes, well, that would be interesting. And we used to say, look, just give it a go because it will add some functionality to your website. Add a line along the lines that hey, site visitor, get a quote from just one leading protection company, and then get in touch with us and we can do the full review. So they went ahead on that basis. And after about a couple of months, we started getting complaints. And the complaints from the advisors were all the same. They were saying, you've just paid us our monthly commission check. And there are people on the commission statement who aren't our clients. We've never heard of them, and to be quite frank, it's going to be a pain in the arse to pay you the money back. Let's get rid of this plug-in tool. But when we investigated it, what we discovered was the commission that we had paid these advisors was actually for people who had visited their website any time of day or night, weekend. They'd visited the website, they'd got a quote out of pure curiosity. They were quite happy with the quote. They didn't really feel they needed to get a full review and a full range of quotes. They downloaded the PDF application form and sent it in to Permanent Insurance. We underwrote it, paid the commission to the advisor. And that's what was going on. And it was at that point that the advisors began to realize, so this is what this internet does. This is quite clever. Maybe we should be using the internet a bit more. So that was kind of how it all started. Just give people something to do. Now, if you were to plug an AI, if you like, a version of ChatGPT into your website now, people can just chat to it. It doesn't give financial advice. It doesn't do any financial promotions. It's been trained not to do that, but it does give value. It will explain your services. It will answer all your usual FAQs. How many advisors have you got? What are their qualifications? What are your office hours? All that good stuff. And it can also point people to your Calendly link or something like that. So there we have something else that you could add into your website. I practice what I preach. I've got my own AI on my own website. It's an AI that financial advisors can talk to about marketing. It will answer any question. It's trained on my books, webinars I've done, conference speeches I've done, and it kind of chats in my own tone and style as well. But you don't just need to stick it on your website. You can put it in a QR code and have that on the back of your business card. You could put that on your LinkedIn profile. You can put it on your email signature. So what I'm suggesting here is you've got a tool here. Yes, it will really jazz up your website, but it will also attract leads from anywhere that you can post the link to your AI or put a QR code. So there we've got a couple of things that you could do. Be really clear about who you want to service and try and design your website along those lines. Try and get rid of this cliched imagery that you've got on websites and make it more relevant to the people you actually want to talk with. Put some downloads, free PDFs, that sort of thing as well, and have an AI as well. So let me now tell you about the most successful financial advisor I've ever met and how he used to attract clients. You will probably notice that is not him. That's Cliff Richard, who was his next door neighbor. Mick was a husband and wife team. He was so successful. He lived in St. George's Hill in Weybridge. Some of you may know that. It's where all the A-listers live. Cliff Richard was his next door neighbor. Tom Jones was a few doors down. And I was a broker rep at the time, and this was 1988. And I at least had the presence of mind to say to Mick, how is it that you're writing all this business? Where do all your cases come from? And the way he did it was through a combination of seminars and worksite marketing and a quiz. And now let me show you what he used to, well, I'll tell you first how he used to do it. So he was based in St. George's Hill and Weybridge in Surrey, just off the A3. His main business was that he used to be the financial advisor for local business owners, small business owners, some medium-sized businesses, and a smattering of slightly larger ones as well. And there was no financial planning in 1988. He would do their pensions and their protection and their mortgages and their holiday insurance, all that stuff, the way we used to do it back in the day. And they all liked him. He used to get new clients through referrals. He'd do a good job with one business owner and they would tell another business owner. He'd also go to networking events, and that was pretty well all he did. But one of the things he would also do was he would do the work for the business owner. And when he concluded that bit of work, he would always say to them, just out of interest, would you be interested in me doing a talk to your staff? Perhaps at a lunch break, a tea break, or we can put on a special session. And every single one of them said yes. He'd already built a relationship with them. They liked him. They trusted him. Why would they not be happy to have him present to their staff? So he would put on, back in the day, we used to call this worksite marketing. He would put on a short presentation on the basics of personal finance. Now, Mick had a handout that he would give everybody in the audience, and this is his handout. It was basically a postcard, and it was, as you can see, it asked 5 questions. Simple, simple stuff. But looking at that postcard, you can already see that even the newest financial advisor could get some value out of the answers to those questions. So Mick would say to them, look, before I do the presentation, could you just fill in this postcard, put your name and address on the right, and before I go, I'll pick one at random and someone will get a bottle of wine. So like everybody in the audience filled in the postcard. Okay. Now let's fast forward to today and I'll show you why this is relevant. When he finished his presentation, he would collect up all the postcards. He would then take them home, where between him and his wife, they would look at the answers and they would send a personal letter to every single person who filled in the postcard. There was no email back then, so it had to be a letter. And the letter would go something along the lines of, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, hope you enjoyed the presentation the other day. Thanks for filling in the postcard. Sorry you didn't win the bottle of wine. Looking at your answers on the postcard, I can see that you're a regular saver. That's really good. Keep that going. That'll serve you well for the future. But I also noticed that if you were hit by a bus today, your family might have a bit of a problem. Is that something you'd like some help with? And Mick told me that his conversion rate, his success rate was pretty well near 100%. And when you think about it, why wouldn't it be? A, their boss recommended they go to the talk. B, they enjoyed the talk. C, they interacted with the talk by filling in the postcard. D, the financial advisor who gave the talk has come back to them with a personalized response saying, look, I can see you're doing this, but you've got a problem here. Would you like some help with that? Why would you not want to say yes to someone who says, would you like some help with that? Simple idea, which right up to date, we can call a scorecard or a quiz or a tool where people can self-assess themselves based on it's a quiz at the end of the day. So scorecards are basically quiz tools that help businesses to get to know each website visitor as an individual, whilst also creating real curiosity. So instead of having an e-guide that someone can download, what you can do is answer a few questions in a quiz and get a personalized instant report. And it works on the very simple principle that everybody loves a quiz. We particularly like quizzes that tell us something, where the answers tell us something about ourselves, which enables us to say, okay, this quiz says I'm quite unfit, but the answers to the quiz suggest me some ways that based on how I answer the questions, I could get fitter. As human beings, we love to compare ourselves against other people or against a standard that an expert has set. Now, we've all done these online quizzes, haven't we? Quite often through Facebook or Instagram. And these are the sort of things that you typically see. Could I run a marathon in the next 10 weeks? Take the quiz, get your results instantly. How brainy am I? Take the quiz, get your results instantly. Is my business ready to pitch to the dragons? Take the quiz, get your answer instantly. Am I a natural leader? How does my love life compare with others? Could I retire early? Am I paying too much tax? Would working with a financial planner be right for me? How ready for retirement am I? So the concept of a quiz can be used in a whole bunch of different ways, but because humans love to compare themselves against a standard or a benchmark that's been set by an expert, and if the quiz is presented in a nice, simple, user-friendly way, doesn't take too long to do, we feel that our data is safe, then there's no reason why human beings won't do that. So, what sort of things could this do for us? First of all, it adds instant value for your website visitors. We create the quiz, we plug it into our website, or we make a link to it from our LinkedIn profile. Anywhere that you want to promote this thing, you can get it out there. So it's not just for your website visitors. People get a personalized report based on their answers. It is proof that you are an expert. and it's a fantastic lead generation tool, meaning you can choose who you follow up. So not everybody is going to answer the quiz the way you want it to be answered. And if someone takes, say, how ready for retirement quiz, you'll be able to look at the answers as the advisor and you can literally say, no, I don't want to follow this one up, or I do like the look of this one because you have data. Go back to Mick's postcard. People filled in the questions. Mick has collected data. He can then pick and choose the ones that he really wants to follow up. But his questions were done in such a way that it was easy for him to personalize them, and he'd pretty well guarantee himself a new lead. But what you're actually doing by having a quiz on your website is you're getting to know each person who visits your website in quite some detail. In fact, a couple of the ones I'm going to show you in a second, it's almost like a mini fact find before you've even met the person. Now, I use this as a tool. So one of the things I do is LinkedIn consultancy for financial advisors. And when a financial advisor connects with me on LinkedIn or they look at my profile, I get a bit of messaging going. And quite often the messaging goes something on the lines of, hey, Mrs. IFA, thanks for connecting, or thanks for looking at my profile. Great to meet you on here on LinkedIn. Just out of interest, you're on LinkedIn. How do you find it? And financial advisors go, well, I don't really get it, or there's too many recruiters, or some financial advisors say, yeah, it works quite okay. So what I then do is say, well, why don't we just do a quick health check um, on your LinkedIn profile? Why don't you take my financial advisor LinkedIn health check? This is a scorecard. It's a quiz. It's a self-assessment tool. And I point people to my financial advisor LinkedIn health check, and I get a very near 100% conversion rate on that. Near 100% conversion rate. Because the report they get, it only takes them a few seconds. I could just say to them, here, have my free guide, my free LinkedIn PDF on how to use LinkedIn. But this is an interactive tool that gives them real value. They get a personalized score and report at the end of the thing. And I get their name, their email address, and every answer they gave to every question, which means I can, just like Mick did, I can use the data I've got and follow each one up personally. And I go something along the lines of, hey, Mrs. IFA or Mr. IFA, thanks for taking my LinkedIn health check. You scored XYZ. The scores suggest you're quite good. You've got quite a good looking profile, but I also noticed from your answers that you're missing quite a few tricks on how you engage with other people. Would you like some help with that? I do exactly the same thing that Mick did. I give them value. They get a personalized score. I can follow them up in a really personalized way. Does this thing work? I mean, sometimes I do webinars on how to use LinkedIn. And the last one I did a webinar for advisors on LinkedIn. Um, I had 97 leads in 12 minutes. So I gave people a link to my health check at the end of the webinar, and within 12 minutes, 97 financial advisors had filled it in. And so I got all their names, all their data, and I can follow up in a personalized way. And I say to them, look, you're doing well on this, you're doing not so well on this. Would you like some consultancy on that? One or two of you may know many when I was in my teens, I was doing rock concert photography, and I was also doing weddings as well. And many years ago, I wrote a book on how to deliver the perfect wedding speech. The book is great. It sells a copy literally every single day. But I've also created a wedding speech scorecard. How ready are you to deliver the perfect wedding speech? Take our fun wedding speech quiz and we'll send you a free personalized report. Now, if you are a father of the bride, or you are the groom, or someone who has to give a wedding speech, and somebody shows you a readiness for your wedding speech quiz, are you going to ignore that? Well, unless you really don't want to know the answers, of course you're not going to know. So what I've also done is I've put a QR code in the book. So people are reading the book and it gives them all sorts of tips, but they can also get a personalized score as well. So what I'm effectively getting is the name and the data of everybody who reads my wedding speech book. I use it as well for another thing. I've got a lead generation scorecard for financial advisors. Here's where financial advisors discover if you're missing out on attracting more of your ideal clients. Take the quiz. Super simple. As a financial advisor, It will give you insight into how effective you are at lead generation or how effective your firm is at lead generation. It gives you value. It gives you a personalized score and report with tips for improvement. But I've got your name, I've got your email address, and I've got all the answers to all of the questions. And those answers are displayed to me in some really smart and attractive ways. So, top right there, one of the questions in that scorecard is: do you ever send a printed paper newsletter to clients? Most say no. Do you ever host online events solely for existing clients? Most say no. Um, 23% were considering and need some guidance. I can see who the people who are considering it and need guidance, and I can follow them up and I can say to them, hey, thanks for filling out the LinkedIn, the lead gen scorecard. I see that you'd like some guidance on how to put on webinars. Would you like some help with that? So hopefully you can see this is adding value to the website visitor. It's giving them, well, it's giving them more than just value. It's giving them a lot of value, and their output that they get at the end of it is highly personalized. But I've got some really useful information. So those of you that are slightly ahead of me on this might be thinking, okay, so how could financial advisors use this? Well, I'm going to show you one or two ways. Now, we all know that not everybody really understands what a financial planner does. I happen to think that financial planning is one of those things that a lot of people need to kind of experience before they actually get it and understand. And then, of course, our industry has made a pig's ear of explaining to consumers who we are and what we do. And we've got like 10 or 12 different names for people who give financial advice. So here's a scorecard that you could have on your website. Could achieving your goals, dreams, and aspirations be helped by working with a financial planner? Working with a financial planner is not for everyone, but if you're fit, it can be truly life changing. Tens of thousands of people work with a financial planner. Take our free assessment to discover if working with a planning professional could stop you missing out on living the life of your dreams. Simple quiz, adds value to the person visiting your website, particularly people who don't really know the difference between a financial advisor, a life planner, a lifestyle advisor, a wealth manager, Uncle Tom Cobley, and all. This will help them to clear that up in their minds. But as you, the financial advisor, you've essentially got a lead sitting in your inbox when someone fills that. I've just put myself through that one, and this is the sort of dashboard that I get to see. Their overall score was 55. Their knowledge of financial advisors, financial planner was kind of about average. Their vision for the future is quite good, way above average. And whether or not they're a good fit for a financial planner, these people are doing really quite well. Just also looking at this, up the top right here, it's got AI. There's a little built-in tool here which will write you a follow-up email based on how they answered the questions and the scores they got. How cool is that? What else can it do? So this is when I say you can see the answers to the questions. Um, let's look at question 2. Do you understand the difference between a financial advisor and a financial planner? The person put no. A financial planner is for people wanting to invest in unusual investments. That person put they disagree with that. A financial planner is best for people needing advice on short-term investments, money issues, or financial products. They've put agree. So already, just after 3 or 4 questions, you, the financial advisor, can tell whether or not you can make an opinion about this particular person. Let's look at another category, the vision category. Do you ever worry you might run out of money? No. How clear on how you want to spend your retirement? This is out of 10. How important is it for you to have a clear financial roadmap that enables you to monitor your progress? People living to 100 is becoming fairly normal. Are you preparing your finances with this in mind? No, I hadn't considered it. So again, you can see that the answers to their questions in this quiz could potentially be really useful to you. Which of these will be important to you during your retirement? Still doing some work, staying healthy, doing things I've not had time for. Again, that's useful for a financial advisor to know. And the other category was, are you a good fit? Which of the following are most important to you in a financial planner? Expertise, likable, good listener. Is being able to get on well with a financial planner more important to you than their expertise? Yes. How would you prefer to work with a financial planner? Always face to face. Simple stuff, but potentially very useful. And when they press submit, they get a results page with their score. Here's another one. How ready are you for retirement and life after work? Take this quick assessment and your free and personalized report will be instantly revealed. This is the most popular scorecard that financial planners and financial advisors use. You can see it's done nice and professionally. All we ask for is their name, their email, and we make phone number optional, but you'll be amazed how many do actually put their phone number in there as well, which is wonderful. Got your privacy policy there as well, and here's your GDPR opt-in as well. Here's another one. Excuse me. This one's more for equity release specialists. We all know that, and a lot of the public still think equity release is a con. A lot of people carrying around myths about equity release. But we all know that the ability to release equity from your home is potentially very, very helpful, particularly if people are living longer. Maybe people want to help fund their kids' first home. There's lots of reasons why equity release might be appropriate. However, for someone who is not quite sure, they can fill in this quiz. Are you ready to live a more fulfilled retirement? Find out if an equity release mortgage could be the right way to help finance your retirement. Take our quick quiz and get your personalized report in the next few minutes. It's not going to give financial advice. It's not going to say, yes, you definitely qualify for equity release. If the answer is no, it will say, no, we don't think equity release is right for you, but you might want to have a chat with us and we can look at some other things as well. So that's an interesting one if you're in that market. You can also use these things as an admin tool as well. So those previous ones you've looked at are all kind of lead gen tools. This one could help you assess whether or not people might be potentially vulnerable or how resilient they are. This is probably one that you might actually want to sit down with a client and go through it together. So this is another way of using this sort of gathering of data approach. This is another nice one as well. Use a scorecard to measure how well people felt you worked with them. It also asks them quite a lot about the likelihood of whether or not they might want to refer a friend. So this will give you data about how people thought you did, but it will also give you some really, and it gets people thinking about wanting to refer you to existing clients. So you can see that all of those are basically the same as this. This was before the internet. What you've just seen is now that we have the internet. And it ticks a lot of those boxes. It gives people something to do. It gives people a personalized experience of your website. Now, just to start to wrap up and just to put a little meat on the bones there, I was doing some training for a firm of financial advisors back in March in person. And these were all people who came under a national brand, but they could all do pretty well whatever they liked on their own website. And we set up an experiment there and then where we put a control in. So firm A, and these were all firms that were broadly similar. Their website numbers were all broadly similar. They all had broadly similar client types and they all did broadly similar work. So firm A added the readiness for retirement scorecard to their website. Firm B did nothing, but they were quite interested in the experiment just to see how it came out. Firm C added a lead magnet, a download to their website. 10 tips to prepare for retirement. And we looked at the data, April, May, June, July. It was, end of August to see what had happened. So firm B, who didn't do anything, their website visits averaged at 143, and they'd had 7 direct inquiries over that 5-month period. Firm C, who put the PDF download on their website, 231 visits. I don't think there's any correlation between number of visits and the fact that they put something on the website. It's just to show roughly how many. But they had 14 direct inquiries. Firm A, who added the scorecard, 129 website visits over the period and 64 direct inquiries. But it was even better than that when we revealed these ones. Firm B, who did nothing, captured no leads, because there was no way to capture leads. Firm C, who had the e-guide, as well as 14 direct inquiries, they had 53 downloads of their e-guide. Now that is 53 people. They would have sent an email to them saying, "Hey, thanks for downloading our guide." If we, that sort of thing. Some of you may already do this. The firm that had the scorecard, as well as 64 direct inquiries, had 474 people fill in the scorecard. 474, of which 358, after they looked at the data, looked like strong prospects worth following up. Because not everybody who goes through your scorecard is going to be a guaranteed hot, perfect lead for you. A fair chunk of them will not be, but you will know when you look at the answers to the questions as to whether or not somebody's actually going to be worth you following up. But that's still 474 people that you could add to your email newsletter list. The GDPR wording is done in such a way that you can add them to your email newsletter or whatever you want to do to them. So you can see from that one experiment over a 5-month period, the firm that got the fewest number of website visits over that 5 months had significantly more leads that they could follow up. So where I'm going with this is that many financial advisors who are asking questions about, should I be using Unbiased, should I be using Vouch4, should I be going to networking events, have more than enough leads potentially right under their noses. These are people visiting their website who don't go on to make an inquiry. So what we want to do is to put something in their path when they do visit your website or your LinkedIn profile or your blog or wherever you hang out online, that is of actual value to them, that they can get something of real personalized value, but which also gives you data. I'm interested to know where this will go in the future. I think in the future it'll be much more about video AI that actually looks and sounds like you, that talks to you, and like that. I think that's where this is all going to go. But right now, we can give people extreme value by giving them literally a quiz on their website, which gives them really useful experience, and it gives you real data. These are available off the shelf and can be white labeled and branded to you. These ones here, the Readiness for Retirement, is working with a financial planner right for you, is equity release, how do we do, and they're ready to go right off the shelf, and we just brand them up, and you can change the questions, you can add more questions, and so on and so forth. Other ideas that we're doing with financial advisors, we're only limited by our own imaginations, to be quite honest, as to what we do. So estate planning readiness, wills and trust health check. Are you ready to retire overseas? What's your financial future confidence level? How prepared are you to pass wealth to the next generation? Financial wealth being protection, retirement lifestyle, tax efficiency, you name it, it's doable if these are right for the sort of people that you want to do. You can see that they're even better if you've got a very clear niche market like dentists, like something like that. But if you're a financial advisor and you do retirement planning, then a Readiness for Retirement scorecard could really work pretty well for you. Now, if you would like a personal demonstration, just drop me a line or get in touch with me and we'll get on a call, and I can show you these in action, actually go through them with you. I've also got those demonstration ones which you can have a play around with as well. And I can also show you how the back office of it works and how you can see the data and how you can use that as well. So we're about there. Really appreciate your time today. Ask questions now or at some point in the future if you want to. I'm going to make sure that you get copies of these slides and the video. I've just launched a brand new marketing app, first of its kind. There's no other such thing. It is an app that is only about lead generation and marketing for financial advisors. It's free. I'll send you a link to that. Some of you have already taken up the offer on a week's trial of the Advisor Growth Community. You can still do that as well. And I'll send you information on pricing and so on and so forth. So I hope you found that kind of useful. Let me just stop. We've got a couple of questions up here. Some of these fireflies. Yes, Richard, it is available to watch again. So hope you found that useful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to do one of these on a marketing topic every Monday, so look out for the invitation. Thanks a lot. Take care, everybody.
Lovely.
Bye.
Bye-bye.